A Mirror for Observers by Edgar Pangborn, published in 1954, with some really interesting cover art there from Bob Haberfield, who did a lot of the Michael Moorcock covers. This story is about a population of Martians who are called Salvayans in their own language, who have fled their own dying planet of Mars and have been living in secrecy on Earth amongst humanity for many centuries. They are residing in a number of hidden cities throughout the planet, observing humanity and awaiting their maturity before forming a kind of union between humanity and the Salvayans. They have a lifespan of 600 years or so, and they are able to pass as humans through some kind of cosmetic surgery. Many countries have kind of consolidated to form much larger nations, and there is one political party which has emerged in North America who are seeking to form a kind of world government and bring all of the countries of Earth together as one nation, which has caused a lot of disruption and turmoil. And actually there's quite a big war going on in the background between China and Russia, as well as many other smaller conflicts that are bubbling throughout the world too. So these observers, or the Salvayans or Martians, are blending in with humanity by undergoing these cosmetic procedures and masking their alien scents with a chemical compound referred to as a scent destroyer, because animals are particularly sensitive to it, with horses being the biggest threat of detection. In the many centuries that the observers have been present on Earth, many of them have chosen to renounce their observer duties and live amongst the humans as abdicators. And some of these abdicators are attempting to shape history to their will and influence human society and civilization. At the beginning of the book, it's brought to the observer's attention that the abdicators have taken a particular interest in a young boy named Angelo. So we follow an observer named Elmis, who is assigned to observe this boy. And he does so by moving into the spare room of this boy's house in a dying American town in New England. And as he moves into this boy's house and is getting to know him and the other people of the town, there is this unsettling feeling of dread that just out of sight there may be an abdicator posing as one of the townspeople. So this young boy, Angelo, he kind of has a genius intellect. He's also a really talented painter, and he is kind of being pulled in two directions by the observer, who is attempting to steer him along the right path, and the abdicator, who is trying to corrupt him by introducing certain philosophical and political ideas, as well as creating psychological challenges. And this aspect of the book actually reminded me quite a lot of Barry Milesberg's Overlay, in which a race of alien beings are attempting to facilitate the downfall of human civilization by infiltrating the minds of gambling addicts who bet on horse racing. But A Mirror for Observers is broken up into two halves. I'm not going to get into the second part of the book, but during the first, we're mostly following Elmis living in this town, getting to know this boy Angelo and the other townspeople, while also attempting to uncover the identity of the abdicator and foil his plans. Now, this might sound a little bit boring, and to be honest, there were stretches where it's pretty slow going. But the writing is really good and the characters are compelling enough that it does pull you along. While I was reading the book, actually, speaking of the writing, I was reminded of Theodore Sturgeon. And in one of my last videos, I'd just spoken about More Than Human, which was published, I think, a year before this book. And when I looked into Edgar Pangborn, I actually found that Ursula Le Guin had cited Theodore Sturgeon and Edgar Pangborn as major influences on her work, showing her this idea of what she called humanly emotional science fiction. And so, despite some slower sections, I think this is a really well-written book, highlighting humanity's tendency to fall into familiar patterns and this kind of inability to take a look at ourselves and see the bigger picture. And the question really is, are we doomed to fail because of that? Or is there really this prospect of maturity that the Salvayans are waiting for? The ending actually has a shocking relevance to today, and that's not just because of the events, which I'm trying not to spoil here, but it's more about the question around the change in human psychology following those events. And this broad scope in terms of the perspective is really explored through quite a focused narrative and a select group of characters, which I think really works. And overall, I do think that A Mirror for Observers was great. So that's all for today. I recently hit 600 subscribers, so I just wanted to say thank you for that. And I hope you check out my next video where I'm going to be tier ranking every science fiction book that I read this year. This is probably going to be the last book that I discuss of the year, and it is another one ticked off of this list. Science Fiction, the 100 Best Novels by David Pringle. And I'm going to be continuing to work my way through this one in the new year. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next one.